Welcome to another edition of In the Winner's Circle. Renee Cairns flying solo. HBBA, proud sponsors of this podcast. Jennifer is away, and she's the one who usually takes care of the set. So things are looking a little bit different today. But I do have her top 5 from last weekend. So we're going to begin with that. And we're going to begin with Midnight Area, the horse that won the 154th Queen's Plate, the second consecutive gate-to-wire winner of the Queen's Plate. Last year, it was Strait of Dover that went coast to coast for Danny Vella and Justin Stein. Nick Gonzalez sending out his second plate winner, and just his second starter was Big Red Mike, who went gate-to-wire just a couple of years ago back in 2010. Midnight Area, a horse that was taken for $35,000 at Gulfstream back in January, and this was actually his first win for the new connections. The Tucci stables, very much deserving. They've been in the game a long time, so nice to see them win. And Jesse Campbell getting the victory. How about the day that Reed Baker had? He won 2 stakes on the day. He took the Dance Smartly with Solid Appeal, a horse that was winning back-to-back stake races. And in the Highlander, it was Go Blue or Go Home that won for Jim and Susan Hill. They were also the owners of Solid Appeal. So Reed had a good day, the Hills had a good day. And the fact that the Highlander was actually run on the main track brings us to the third point. What did Mother Nature do to us on Sunday? Wow. The Highlander was supposed to go 3/4 on the turf. Major monsoon, I would say about an hour before the Queen's Plate. Of course, we ended up having flooding on Monday night, but on Sunday it just came down in buckets. I was doing the CBC show, had a little bit of misadventure with my pony, got very wet, and had a lot of fun though. But Mother Nature wreaking havoc. It's a good thing we have Polly though, because it's always good all the time, no matter what she does to us. How about Roger Attfield? Roger Attfield taking his 4th consecutive Sing Spiel. Forte de Marmi was the winner. He was the overwhelming choice, and jockey Joel Rosario actually ran out of goggles and really couldn't see where he was going because they were running that race in the midst of the monsoon that Mother Nature was dumping down on Woodbine and surrounding areas. So congratulations to Roger Attfield, having another great season. Are you kidding me? 9.7 million was wagered on Queen's Plate Day. That is a record. And I'll tell you, everything was done to the T. The hats and horseshoes section, the Meat Street section, everything was pulled off absolutely perfectly. And the connections of Midnight Area would say that they pulled it off as well at about 18-1. A horse that we talked about a lot during the day, being the lone speed. A lot of other trainers at the draw spoke of the fact that he was the lone speed, and that could make him difficult to catch. And with the rain coming down at Woodbine, generally the track does get faster and more speed favoring when it rains, and that's exactly what happened. They just could not catch Midnight Area. So those are Jennifer's 5 from last week. As far as what is coming up, we can close the book on last week. And what's coming up this weekend? Well, we've got the Passing Mood going on Saturday, 7/8 on the turf, and this is for Ontario registered 3-year-old fillies with a big field of 12. I think this is a pretty tough race. You've got Rutham's Triple E's, that's going to be one of the favorites. There's a lot of speed. There are horses that have been good going the distance, but not necessarily on grass. You've got horses that are good on grass, but not necessarily going the distance. The Hall of Famer Bob Tiller has actually entered 3 horses in the group. He's got Laughing Falcon, to this point undefeated in 2 starts, Line of Best Fit, and Silent Love, the daughter of Silent Name. And Silent Name is very much and very quickly making a name for himself as one of the top Ontario stallions. So to find out a little bit more about what Mr. Tiller thinks about his 3 charges going in the Passing Mood on Saturday, I spoke with him this morning. So here we have 2 minutes with Bob Tiller.
Yeah, Laughing Falcon, she's been entered, and, as we all know, she's won 2 in a row. However, one was on the dirt and one was on the turf. I didn't think she handled the turf that well that day. I think she's a little better horse on the dirt myself. This is a class jump, I think, with all the speed in here, and it's also 7/8. So, going to have a conference with Mr. Davis today, or certainly by Saturday morning, and make a decision whether we're even going to run her or not. At the end, he pays the bills. It'll be up to him, but I'm going to certainly have some suggestions. I think there's a lot of speed in this race. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to run her. The filly, sorry about that. You know what? I need glasses. I can't see. Silent Love, of course. Silent Love. I'm horrible with names. You know what? She's one going a flat mile on the turf. run her back on the dirt, run a disappointing race. She did have a lot of mucus. She came out of that race with quite a bit of mucus. I think we've cleared her up, and I'm definitely going to run her if it's on the turf. If it's for some reason they take it off the turf, which I don't think will happen now, then we would scratch her because I didn't like her last race. But she's coming up to a really a better race, I believe. And then we've got the line of best fitted filly that bruised her foot to start before last. It's the unfortunate part about horse racing. Nobody knows exactly what's going on. Came back lame. She tore her shoe off at the gate, and unfortunately she ran the whole trip. So you can excuse that second last race. And she was sore for about 5-6 days after the race. Of course, came back and just aired on the dirt. So again, she's got kind of a small contracted heel sort of foot that I don't know if she'll handle the turf. That's the big question mark there. So all my horses have these little question marks, and so is everybody else in the race. It's the toughest race I've ever seen to handicap. Good luck to whoever picks the winner. That's how I see it. I still think my filly Silent Love will run a big race, and the other one, well, both if the other two run, they're both very capable.
So you're not alone if you think that this is a pretty tough race to handicap. I looked at it, and again, I see horses that do well on turf, but maybe not at the distance. I see horses that do well at the distance, but maybe not on the grass. You've got a horse that I think is held in high regard by Dave Bell, and that is Silent Star. She was third to Cryptic Message in the Nandi in her final start last August, so she was put away early. Another one that is by Silent Name. I think this is a pretty interesting race. There's a lot of speed. Generally, the turf course can be speed favoring, but with too much speed on the front end, it could leave it open for a closer. I would have to put a whole lot of horses on a ticket there, because to me it just seems as though this race is earmarked for an upset. And we just heard from Bob Tiller, perhaps not all three horses will be going postward. Coming up on Sunday, a couple of stake races. We have the Shady Well, the Ontario Damsel, and look at race number 9 as well. This is a 16 starter. I think it's a pretty interesting race. Big Time coming off a win. How about Haverhill? A horse that seems to be a little bit better on dirt, but runs okay on the poly track as well. But we're going to talk about the two stake races, or I'm going to talk about the two stake races. I'm sure Jennifer would talk if she was here. We've got the Shady Well, 150, 5.5 furlongs, a registered Ontario breds, and you've got Skylander Girl. Alex Padowich told me about this daughter of Stroll way back in the spring. He said, I got a nice filly here, didn't pay much for her, but she will win a stake, and she did just that, winning the My Dear last weekend, just last Saturday. So quickly back into action. She got a 65 buyer. I spoke to Jim McElhaney after the race, and he said he'd worked her quite a few times, and he said she just seems like she's a freak, a really good horse. However, on just 7 days turnaround, will she be able to rebound? She ran huge that day, and I thought she ran like a true professional, sitting nicely off the pace. Ricky Griffith has a division down at Delaware, and Southwest Lady, a daughter of Sightseeing, is one that broke her maiden down there quite nicely, coming from off the pace in a maiden special. So she's going to try the poly track for the very first time. John Ross sending out Lexi Lou, one of the first 2-year-old winners of the season back at the end of May. Fair Shake goes for Ricky Griffith as well. Scott Fairley, Always Dangerous. Mike Doyle with Henry's Island, from the same family as River 7. This is a daughter of Stormy Atlantic, a homebred for Bill Graham's Windhaven Farm. She is a first-time starter. A second-time starter is Diamonds for Dixie, a daughter of Dixie Union, going for Danny Vella, picking up Lasix, and that is generally a pretty big angle for the Danny Vella barn. And she actually just got beat a couple of lengths to Skylander Girl in that first lifetime start back at the beginning of June. So I think the Shady Well is a pretty interesting race. But as far as the Ontario Damsel goes, probably have a bit more of an opinion on this one. This is a flat mile, 3-year-old fillies, Ontario breds. You've got Sarah Her Highness, Akron Moon going for Mark Frostad, a homebred for Shell Evans, a daughter of Malibu Moon, out of his very nice Not for Love mare Akronism. A second beaten a nose to Over Her, that was in the Alley Wow. She was up there and just got nailed right on the line. Now I know we're going a little bit further, but I think she should be able to carry her speed a little further. Todd Cable is going to be back aboard. I like her in the race. I like the 6 as well. Adventure at Sea as a bit of an upsetter, going for Brian Lynch, a daughter of Stormy Atlantic. She won a mile and a 16th in a maiden special on grass, so she has raced well on grass. She's taken the blinkers off, and I think she could be sitting in a very nice tracking position. And Malcolm Pierce, who's done so well with the Samson horses this season, sends out Dance Again with the hot jock Jessie Campbell to ride the daughter of Awesome Again. She was in the Oaks, got beat about 8 lengths. She's done okay on the turf in the past, though. So I like the 267 as far as a try box for the Ontario Damsel, going as race number 8 on Sunday. But also keep an eye on that 9th race, going 7/8. It's a $16,000 starter. I think it's a pretty interesting race. Run to the Bank, Haverhill, Big Time, My Silver Badge. I think there's some pretty nice horses in that race, and that, of course, is part of the late pick 4. So a bit of an abbreviated version, no fruit today, but just one more element as part of our In the Winner's Circle podcast. Things that perhaps you don't know about Bob Tiller. He seems to be the theme today. He kindly devoted a couple of minutes in a very busy morning training session to me this morning, and probably some things you don't know about him, the fact that he was actually born in Holland. His first winner was at Windsor. Windsor had a thoroughbred meet down at Windsor Raceway, had a thoroughbred meet through the 70s. It didn't last very long, but he had his first winner down there in about 1973. Remember Damaska Dan, how good that horse ended up being? There was a shake for him. In fact, Bob won a 7-way shake for Damaska Dan, and that was maybe not a career changer, but definitely a career accelerant, and one for the DiGiulios as well. He's become very much a foundation horse for them. They've bred a lot of mares to him, and you see that Damaska Dan line running through a lot of the horses that Frank DiGiulio Jr. does send out. But as far as the favorite horse, it was almost without hesitation when I asked Bob who his favorite was. Right away out of his mouth was Win City. Of course, he finished second to Dance Through the Dawn in the Queen's Plate. Much the same scenario as Midnight Area. Lone Speed, couldn't catch her, but came back to get his revenge in the Prince of Wales. Won all kinds of big races. Montpellier rode him. Didn't ride a lot of horses for Bob, but he did ride Win City. So again, without hesitation when I asked Bob who his favorite horse was, Win City, and he's got a ton of stake pictures of Win City up in his office. So a bit of an abbreviated version of In the Winner's Circle, flying solo here. Jennifer will be back next week. She'll have the set with her as well. But again, check out that starter allowance, race number 9 on Sunday. Could be pretty interesting, but I think the whole card, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think there are some great wagering opportunities, especially that race that Bob Tiller spoke about on Saturday, and that is the Passing Mood. To me, that is a race that looks as though you could get some value in there and could be an upset winner. So good luck with your selections. Hope we helped you out here and helped you find the Winner's Circle.